Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're demystifying the invisible battle that happens behind the scenes literally every single time you click buy online. We usually think of e commerce purely in terms of convenience, right? Just scrolling, clicking, and waiting for a box to show up at our door. But underneath all that seamless user experience is a relentless, incredibly high stakes security environment. So, we're going to break down exactly what that battlefield looks like. And to put things into perspective right out of the gate, check out this number. $4.2 million. That is the average cost of a data breach, according to a 2021 survey by the Pomonin Institute and IBM. I think that perfectly highlights just how high the stakes are in digital commerce. When we talk about e-commerce security, we're not talking about some minor technical glitch. We are looking at massive financial and reputational damage that can literally make or break a company. To make sense of this whole complex landscape, we're going to follow a pretty straightforward roadmap today. 1. The e-commerce battlefield. 2. Major security threats. 3. Digital armor and defenses. 4. Modern payment systems. And lastly, 5. Blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Let's get into it. Starting off with Section 1, the e-commerce battlefield, where we establish the high stakes. There's this huge misconception out there that you can just buy some fancy software and boom, you're totally secure. But honestly, there is no magic bullet here. Good security is actually a balancing act of three distinct things. First, yes, you need special cutting-edge technology. Second, you need strict organizational policies and procedures, mostly because, let's face it, human error is a massive vulnerability. And third, you need robust laws and industry standards to deter criminals. It's really like a three-legged stool. If any one of those legs snaps, the entire security system just collapses. Moving right along to Section 2, major security threats. Basically, the villains of the digital world. Okay, so one of the absolute most devastating forms of malicious code right now is ransomware. This is malware that literally locks up an entire system by encrypting all the files. A really prime example of this was the notorious WannaCry attack. Hackers basically freeze a company's data and demand a massive ransom payment, usually in cryptocurrency, just to hand over the decryption key. And lately, they're increasingly targeting small businesses and municipal governments, completely paralyzing their daily operations. Then, on the flip side, we have phishing. Now, unlike ransomware that sort of brute forces its way in, phishing relies entirely on tricking you. It usually comes in the form of these super urgent emails that look 100% legitimate, maybe pretending to be your bank or even your boss. It's a psychological attack. It targets human vulnerability rather than hacking the tech itself, tricking people into willingly handing over their passwords or confidential info. Now, it's actually really critical to understand the difference between two related threats here, spoofing and farming. Spoofing is when hackers hide who they really are, like using a fake email or a masked IP address just to gain your trust. Farming is even more insidious, though. It physically redirects your web link, so you could type in the absolute correct URL for your bank. But behind the scenes, you are automatically routed to a fraudulent knockoff website designed purely to steal your login info. Wild, right? And all of this feeds into broader systemic vulnerabilities. Take credential stuffing, for instance. This is exactly why every IT person tells you not to use the same password for everything. Hackers use automated tools to rapidly test thousands of known stolen password combinations across different sites. And on top of that, we have poorly designed software. The massive Log4 shell vulnerability recently showed everyone just how deeply embedded flaws in open source software can leave global systems completely exposed. All right, Section 3, digital armor and defenses. Let's talk about protecting the network. It all kicks off with encryption. And honestly, it's basically a tale of two systems. First, you have symmetric key cryptography. It's fast, sure, but it acts like a single shared physical key. If you have to pass that one key over the internet to the receiver, a hacker could intercept it, making it super risky. Public key cryptography solves this entirely. It's a much more secure setup using two separate but mathematically linked keys, a public one that anyone can use to lock the message, and a private one kept safely by the receiver to unlock it. So what does this actually look like for you in everyday life? Well, you know that little padlock icon you see up in your web browser? When you see that, it means your computer and the server have rapidly executed a secure TLS, or transport layer security session. They essentially exchange digital certificates to prove who they are, agree on the strongest encryption they both support, and create a totally unique, temporary session key that only exists for that one specific interaction.
But hey, securing the data while it's in transit, that's just part of it. Organizations also have to secure their actual internal networks. Think of firewalls and proxy servers as digital bouncers. Firewalls rigorously check the IDs of data packets at the door, blocking anything suspicious based on security policies. Proxy servers act as middlemen, totally hiding the true layout of the internal network from outside attackers. Meanwhile, intrusion detection systems basically act as security cameras, constantly watching the network for any weird activity.
Next up, Section 4, Modern Payment Systems. How we actually move money securely. For literally decades, credit cards have run the show. But despite their massive popularity, traditional credit cards really struggle in the modern e-commerce space. They offer pretty poor intrinsic security for online transactions. While those little chips helped reduce in-store fraud, criminals have just massively shifted their focus to online card-not-present fraud. And this leaves merchants holding the bag for incredibly costly chargebacks, not to mention the high administrative costs just to process the payments in the first place. So, to fix these massive friction points, alternative payment systems have stepped up and gained incredible traction. Platforms like PayPal operate as an online stored value system, basically acting as a secure middleman so you don't have to give your actual credit card number to every single random merchant. Plus, flexible buy now pay later platforms like Klarna and Afterpay have totally exploded, giving shoppers easy installment options right at checkout without even needing a traditional credit card. And obviously, we can't talk about payments today without talking about the supercomputers in our pockets. Mobile wallets are everywhere now. We've got universal proximity wallets like Apple Pay that use short-range NFC tech so you can tap and pay almost anywhere. Then there are branded store wallets like Starbucks Pay, which usually rely on QR codes specifically for their own shops. And finally, direct P2P or peer-to-peer networks like Venmo and Zelle that totally bypass traditional banking friction and let you instantly split a dinner bill with a friend. Finally, Section 5, Blockchain and Cryptocurrencies, the decentralized frontier. Before we wrap this explainer up, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room regarding the future of money and the internet itself. We hear buzzwords like Web3 and blockchain literally all the time, but what are they actually doing to the e-commerce landscape? At its core, and honestly, scratch the jargon for a second, it's actually quite simple. Blockchain is just a distributed and shared ledger. Instead of one single bank holding the master spreadsheet of who owns what, that database is securely recorded across thousands of computers simultaneously. This completely removes the need for a centralized authority or a traditional bank to verify a transaction. Proponents believe this tech is the absolute foundation for Web3, a future decentralized internet controlled by creators and users rather than huge tech corporations. Now, cryptocurrencies that run on this blockchain, they offer some incredible innovation. But impartially speaking, the reality is definitely complex. Yes, they enable totally anonymous, decentralized payments, but the market is super vulnerable to extreme price volatility and massive high-profile platform thefts. Plus, the sheer computing power required for mining is just staggering. To put it in perspective, Bitcoin mining literally consumes more energy than the entire country of Switzerland. So it's a powerful tool for sure, but one with a massive real-world footprint. And looking just a bit over the horizon, as e-commerce inevitably bleeds into virtual and augmented reality, what we call the metaverse, the security landscape is going to shift all over again. Hackers are going to target entirely new hardware endpoints, like your VR headsets. And because these companies can track your physical actions and even your eye movements, the potential harvesting of intimate biometric data raises some profound, completely unprecedented privacy concerns for all of us. We have covered a ton of ground today, all the way from ransomware to the blockchain. So let's end with this provocative thought. As our physical and digital realities increasingly merge together, who is ultimately going to win this invisible cat-and-mouse game? The attackers are absolutely relentless, but as we've seen, our digital armor is constantly adapting too. Just remember, the e-commerce battlefield is always evolving, and staying informed is your very best defense. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and definitely stay secure out there.